Welcome, Namaskar, Sat Shri Akal, Adab, and good afternoon to all the participants today on our MDP, which is on the topic Organizational Change Management. I, Ranjan, Dean of MBA, IIMT College of Engineering, IIMT Group of Colleges, welcome you again on this occasion. It is really a matter of pride for us hosting this event, and on the panel we have distinguished person with us. First, I'll welcome our director sir with a variety of experience in different places, having conducted so many MDPs, having attended so many MDPs. So he's a source of inspiration for all of us, and he will be pitching in between. And I also welcome our resource of the day, Professor R.K. Tomar, who will be taking the session today. He will be taking us through his presentation, and with his insight, he will be talking about the organizational change management. So we are looking forward to his presentation very eagerly, and I am sure all of us will be benefited with his presentation. To start the proceedings, I will invite our Honorable Director Sir, Mr. James, to say some kind words and inaugurate our program so that we can take it forward. So welcome, sir, and your kind words and inauguration of the program.
Thank you, Dr. Prafula Ranjan. First of all, I would like to congratulate the MBA team for organizing this management development program on the topic organizational change management within few days of the preparation, because we have taken a decision just last week end only, okay, that we need to proceed with a management development program. And I'm thankful to the placement head, Mr. Rajesh Wahiji, and he ensured that there are n number of participants in this program. And he proved that I noticed there are so many participants from various corporates in Delhi NCR, as well as few of the participants from abroad too. So thank you, Rajesh Wahiji, for your hard work, for ensuring this much of participation from various organizations within short time. This topic, organizational change management, has a lot of importance in these days. As many of us have gone through the changes due to force, we can say it is due to force. That was, one is through the COVID, the pandemic situation. And of course, we have faced a similar kind of situation at the time of demonetization. Many of the corporates struggled. And as I said earlier, even many of the employees commit suicide due to this situation, because they don't know how to face the situation. So that is the reason why we thought of conducting an MDP on organizational change management, how to face the changes. As a corporate citizen, we have to go through the changes, but how to face it? Are we ready with the changes that we are going to face it? So I'm sure that our head of the department of MBA, Professor R.K. Tomar, has prepared well to address this issue in a better way. So it is my pleasure to declare this session open. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for inaugurating the session. Now I will briefly introduce our resource person today. Mr. Professor R.K. Tomar is an alumni of IIMT Ghaziabad, one of the premier management institutions of India. Professor Tomar have been working for more than last 12 years, and he has experience in corporate as well as in academics. He is expert in field of marketing, systems, and organization behavior. He has worked with HCL Noida, ICICI Bank. He is having rich experience as head MBA, and he has been guiding faculties and students in a beautiful manner. He has the experience of conducting FDPs and MDPs as well. So, to his credit, he has ample research experience in various national and international journals. So, now the crux of his experience will be coming out. He will be talking about the challenges in the organizational change management and how to come over that. He will be talking about some case studies, and those case studies will let us know how they have come across the difficult journey of change. So I welcome Professor R.K. Tomar to share his wisdom with all of us, and I'm sure we will get a lot of benefit out of it. So welcome, Mr. Tomar, and all yours. Please share your wisdom with us.
Thank you, Dr. Prafulla. Thank you, Dr. James. Now, before starting to my presentation, let us quickly understand what is a change. What is basically a change? Only then we can understand organizational change. So the only constant thing in the world is change. This is not my words. This is spiritual as well as the words given by various scientists, authors, politicians, leaders, spiritual leaders, and management gurus. Change is the only constant thing which is happening. So change is inevitable. You cannot stop from even your body, even your human body, you cannot stop from being changing. So change is a constant part of everybody, whether it is organization, whether it is human, whether it is animal, whether it is nature, whether it is political, whether it is environmental, anything. So you see a lot of, when you analyze the external environment around you, you'll find a lot of things changing. There are changes. There were changes in the organizational structure. There were changes in organizational systems. There were changes in government policies. The government was planning. Let us talk about 2019. 2019, when the government was expecting that this pandemic is coming to India, they were preparing for it. They were not sure that they have to go for lockdown and all those issues, all the economical lockdowns. They were absolutely not sure. So although they were planning, that planning was not perfect. So as you can see, the results of complete lockdown have affected our economy badly. So planning was missing. So now you understand that there are two sets of organizations. One is product-based organization, another is service-based organizations. So if I compare these two industries, they are constantly changing. So let us take an example of telecom industry in the product sector. Telecom industry, the product sector, started with a trunk call booking. If you remember good old days, if we are going to call a person, we need to book the trunk call, and that call is connected on the basis of the booking. So there was long queue. There was long queue actually, and you have to wait a lot to get the person connected. Secondly, change happened in that industry. Trunk call booking changed to STD booking, subscriber trunk dialing. So you can see a vast number and mushrooms of PCOs opening in your market area, in your localities. So that business grew accordingly to the change, because PCOs and STDs and ISD were coming up, and you need to pay. You can directly call a person. You do not need to book a trunk call, but wait for your turn. Just call a person and pay the requisite amount to the PCO operator. Then after STD, then pager revolution came. Pager, I remember, was very phenomena. Is a good phenomena in telecom industry. The pager really represented the communication, and it happened that people do connect with the help of pager only. After pager, the Motorola invented their first mobile phone in India. They launched their first mobile phone in India. So although it was a costly instrument, it was a small instrument, but it was a costly instrument. Even the incoming were also charged. If I remember, people used to give a missed call to other person so that he can call from this local landline number. So that was the days, that was the change happened. So straight away from trunk dialing, we moved on to the mobile phones. The mobile phones, or the dot phones we now call them nowadays. Then this dot phone progressed also. With the time, they progressed. They progressed from not only voice calling, but to data. They gone through a phase of 2G. All of you remember 2G scam associated. Then 3G, then 4G, and the 5G is coming to India. Of course, launched by various developed countries, but it will come to India very soon. So that is the pace of change. That is the pace of change. We need to understand the pace of change. So by this example, then I'll also talk about a company called Nokia. It was a Finnish company. It captured the market. When the mobile phone came, it captured the market. This mobile phone were having the facility of voice calling and SMS. This voice calling and SMS for mobile phones were very popular amongst youngsters. They were introduced with various leaks, various designs, and it attracted the youngsters. This Finnish company never thought that one day Android phone will come into the market. Now, what happened after the launch of Android phones? After the launch of Android phone, this Finnish company wiped away. The Samsung took over. The other players took over in the market. With the introduction of Android phones, data technology, touch screens, and other facilities, the other company launched into the market and beat it in the competition, this Finnish company called Nokia. So that is the power of change. We need to understand that if we want to survive in the market, we need to understand the pace of change. It can be direct or indirect. It can be expected or it can be unexpected. You can never expect this change going to happen. Nobody expected that we will be in lockdown for last 3 or 4 months. We have to work from home. Everybody is working from home. Even we are conducting this MDP, which could have been done in a face-to-face way, we are conducting through webinars. So we need to be prepared with the change. Then let us talk about banking sector. The banking sector, this Sakari banks, actually these cooperative banks basically, they were holding 70% of the farmer's account. Now the banking sector introduced a concept called CBS system. With the concept of CBS system, this banking sector seen a tremendous change. These farmers now rush to other banking sectors and joined this CBS banking system because of the facilities provided by various banks. Like a bank called ICICI, they introduced their ATMs. Everybody joined that bank because they don't want to wait up in queues for withdrawing their cash. They want that ATM is available. Just go to the ATMs, check the bank balance, and withdraw the amount. So that is the power of change. One need to understand. And viewers, this change is not happened today. This change is happening since prehistoric times. If I go to prehistoric times, let us talk about the Lord Ram, his ideology, his principles, his ethics. Now, the transformation from Ram Same person, Lord Vishnu is the reincarnation, have taken reincarnation in the form of Ram. And what happened? The principles which were laid down by Ram are no longer applicable today. Even the Lord Ram have to change. Even the Lord Vishnu have to change in another form that is called Krishna. He gave the guidance to the Arjun to fight the battlefield, battle of Kurukshetra, to win the battle of Kurukshetra. So strategy is changing. That means change is inevitable. It is not the word of management only. This is the word of spiritual and other gurus also. Okay. So with this word, I have given introduction about the change. Let us quickly start with our presentation so that you will be able to relate what we are going to discuss and what I want to tell you. So give me a moment so that I can share this presentation. So our topic for the day is organization change management. So what all we will be discussing in this organizational change management are organizational change, forces for change. We'll be taking up case study of General Motors, Coca-Cola, Uber, and of course merger of ING Vashya and Kotak Mahindra Bank. Then we'll discuss with planned and unplanned change. We'll also discuss resistance to change and how to deal with the resistance to change. So these will be the topic for discussion for today, and we'll take up this topic one by one. Our agenda of presentation is managing change, resistance to change, approaches to change. Now, what is the definition of this organizational change? Organizational change is a concept which refers to modification or transformation of the organization structures, process, and goods for desired future growth. So transformation in terms of organization structure, I do not need to mention. I hope you know, most of the organizations are following hierarchical organization structure, and we are preferring, with the advent of globalization, we are changing our organization structure from hierarchical to flat organization structure, because the communication is direct. Whenever the communication travels down the line, it affects the entire organization and there's a communication gap. To avoid that communication gap, we need to follow an organization structure which is direct and quick, so that the response and the results are quick. Then we talk about process of organization change, and of course, products and services. One example we have already quoted regarding in telecom industry, starting from the story of trunk call dialing to the development of Android phone with 4G or 5G facility. Now, the organizational change can be reactive or proactive. Reactive and proactive. Reactive means you will act when you are required to change. Currently, we are facing an emergency situation. In this emergency situation, all the organizations are prepared for the reactive organizational changes. They have to adopt these policies. So I was discussing and I was going through an article that Google have allowed their employees to work from home till 2021. So that is a reactive strategy for inculcating the organizational change. So another strategy is proactive strategy. Proactive strategy that you forecast or you predict the things which are going to change in future and you act accordingly. So proactive change, likewise our government is doing. So our government led by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji have identified that these are the weak areas of our defense sector. So he started facing so many objections, so many criticism from his own party, from oppositions and everywhere. He strongly stick to the point and taken a decisions of purchasing and modernizing our defense equipment. And I know, and everybody is aware what happened yesterday. We have been successful in acquiring the modern sixth generation fighter plane, that is Rafale plane. So that is a proactive. We need to have a clear vision what is going to happen in future and how do we need to adapt to that change. So although this path was not easy, if you remember, this story started in 2006 and ended in 2020. It took about 14 years to actually implement the change. So this is about reactive and proactive. Now we'll discuss about what are various forces which can affect the organization to go for a change. So as I see, people generally explore the external things, what is happening, but there are internal issues also. These internal issues need to be resolved, and these internal issues need to be resolved so that you do not have any problem which is going to magnify in future. Forces for change, the first one is, let us talk about the internal forces. Internal forces are generally related to the organization. These internal forces like crisis of funds, crisis of manpower, crisis of modern infrastructure and technology. So these are some of the crises which can occur in the organization. And of course, we need to adapt, we need to change according to the demands or the future planning, future vision. So these crises need to be addressed and they need to be resolved either at one go or by step process. See, when we talk about change management can either be change management as a whole. That means the entire organizations need to be overhauled. And secondly is a step-by-step process, that gradual process or gradual department or the organization part which is having issues need to be resolved first, and then we can resolve the issues. Then managerial personals. If managerial personnel is a very common problem of a new manager or if a new management comes to an organization, and that can also have various issues. A person is working in different organization X, he is joining an organization Y, and in this joining of organization, he generally reflects the culture of older organization to the newer organization. So management or manager wants to work according to his style, according to his experience, and which may or may not be suitable for the existing organization. Then the work climate on environment, working with a multinational company, working with a domestic company. And in today's world, we cannot say this company is multinational, this company is domestic. India have already opened doors for globalizations. We are inviting various multinational companies, joint collaboration, joint ventures, so that they can easily affect our organizational culture or the climate. So nowadays, we are following, as I said in my opening session, that we are following a flat organization structure. We are following this HR policies from what is being adopted in multinational companies. So in order to have a direct communication, in order to have direct problem resolution, and in order to have an immediate response, that is very important. We need to have an immediate action to the problems. We cannot postpone the problems for future. We need to address it as early as possible. Then deficiencies in the existing system. If there are deficiencies that needed to be resolved, I quoted the example of cooperative banks. They are not having a CBS structure. I'm sorry. They are having a CBS structure. They are having a CBS system implemented in the organization, other organizations, whereas the cooperative banks never thought of implementing this CBS. They thought, okay, the farmers are loyal to us or these customers are loyal to us, they will not go away. But that didn't happen. Even with the introduction of small ATMs, people have shifted from a public sector bank to a private sector bank. That happened actually. So that deficiency need to be resolved. And that is why the bank took over to the computerization. Although it was a very, very big and very, very challenging process. This entire change affected many banks. People have so many issues. People even have strikes also. So these conflicts and strikes were resolved slowly and steadily. And finally, the internal change related to the deficiency in existing system was resolved and replaced with a newer system. So these are some of the internal systems, the internal forces which are important for change. Then we talk about the external forces. The external forces, one of the very important external forces is technology. Technology means the phone which cannot have this 4G facility, they are not fit for volt call, VOLTE call. They are not fit for that call. Okay, those companies who are manufacturing the phones which can only support 3G, they have to rethink, they have to redesign, they have to replan their strategy so that they can cope up with the newer technology advent in the market. So the company called Jio took the advantage of this 4G technology development, 4G technology development, and the Jio introduced different sets of mobile phones, different types of mobile phones, which can support this 4G facility, so that the data, internet, and other related facilities were introduced to the customers. So they become big fan of this. Even in the initial stages, Jio introduced a concept of free internet services to the users, so that they get hooked to the user internet. And nowadays, I think 1 GB per day or 2 GB per day data is very, very common. Very common. I remember I was having an Airtel connection, and in that Airtel connection, I have to purchase 500 MB of data in a month. That was, huge expensive for me. It was really expensive. But nowadays, nobody bothers. People are planning for 3 GB and 4 GB of data per day. They are using it. So that is what is the technology which are affecting the organizations. Then we talk about the marketing conditions. Marketing conditions have purely changed. We have introduced, I think everybody is aware, digital marketing. Digital marketing is very popular nowadays. And I read in one of the article written by Kotler says that the definition of marketing will be rewritten in respect to the digital marketing. In respect to the digital marketing. Then the third is globalization. Multinational organizations are coming to India, and even the India is going outside. With this, a fierce competition is coming to the market. The organization who thinks that their product will sell in the market without taking much pain, they will be affected badly. They will be affected badly, and they will have really hard time to survive even. Then external forces are social and political changes. It's very important. Social and social means demographic changes. Demographic changes, people lifestyle changing. This fast food development. Fast food development are the results of modern day family. Modern day family is where wife and husband both are working. So they don't have time practically to even cook. So they prefer fast food. So another form of fast food or this fast food chain has developed so as to support these working couples. Then we talk about political changes. Political changes, the government will have a positive and negative reflection, and we need to face the change. We cannot get away. So in political changes, if you remember the country called Venezuela, which is into crisis because of their strategy only on focusing towards petroleum products. When the crude oil price went down, when the crude oil price went down, the company was affected badly. The country was affected badly, and they need to develop alternate solutions so that their business and economy can come back to the track. Even now, I think I read about 3 or 4 months ago, the condition of that country is not so good. Now, let us discuss a case study which is about General Motors. This is case study is about General Motors. Now, let us quickly go through this history and heritage of this General Motors. At the turn of 20th century, there were only 8,000 automobiles in America, many of them powered by steam or electricity, other has gasoline engines. An unexpected turnaround of the first New York show in 1900 showed the magnitude of the public fascination with the automobile. That means this is the time when General Motor introduced their first automobile to the public. This was founded by the person called Will Durant on September 16, 1908. So this company, in a matter of years, acquired more than 20 companies like Oldsmobile, Cadillac, and Oakland. So this company progressed well because they were the first to introduce this design style car or automobile. In 1920, it becoming the world's largest motor manufacturing company. This company became the world's largest motor manufacturing company, and what happened with the emerging of Japanese automakers, a company called Toyota, which was launched in Japan, gave a fierce competition to this company called General Motors. Now, they were really disturbed with the profitability, and they have to think how to actually go out of this problem, go out of this issues, so that they need to fight with this company called Toyota. During 2019, the situation of General Motor fell down so badly that it almost became bankrupt and closed several brands and split out to the China-based company. This really happened with General Motors. So what were the issues? There were some planned changes. The company tried to incorporate some changes. The company tried to incorporate changes like General Motor tried to pay the higher salary to its employees to about $74 as compared to its rival competitors. And there were some unplanned changes. General Motor was greatly affected by Japan-based Toyota. This becomes sudden and unforeseen threat to the General Motors profitability. So all in all, what I want to say is, although the company was going well, but they were not able to manage their planned and unplanned issues well. And in the absence of that, the company actually faced losses. In the absence of that, the company faced losses. They didn't work much on the technological renovation and redesigning part, and that is why the Toyota profitability take over this company called General Motors. So profitability was there with Toyota Motors, and profitability was missing in the case of General Motors. So as you can see in the slide, by 2009, this company got bankrupt and have to close the several brands. So this is an issue related to the change management, how change affected this already billion-dollar company or the billion-dollar company affected badly, that with the development of new competitor in the market, this company did not pay much attention, much heed to the company called Toyota Motors, and that is why they end up in losses. They did not actually work out how to manage the change and how to neutralize the effect of the competitors to this company. So the reasons and forces of changes for General Motors were external as and internal. We have discussed this earlier. Then the General Motor tried some gimmicks at the end for the cost cutting and the cultural change, which actually did not work out. Cost cutting meant they fired some of the employees, they tried to cut down costs at various levels, but that didn't help at the end because they were not ready for this unplanned change. Okay, so that was about this company called General Motors, how they were affected badly because they were not able to manage the unplanned change related to the company, which were faced by the company. Now, in my slide, I'm going to explain the planned and unplanned change. Planned change is a kind of change which is generally a kind of deliberate decisions taken by the organization or the management. So let us say the company wants to change their organizational structure. They want to change the organizational structure from hierarchical structure to flat organization structure. That will be a kind of deliberated change or a planned change. So this planned change will affect positively as well as negatively. The company have to plan for future. Company should have a clear vision so that it can affect the overall change. It can manage the overall change. So these are basically the example of planned change. Then unplanned changes are like we all are facing today. We were not ready for this online and everything. Now we need to manage this. This is the best example at this point of time. At this point of time, this is the best example. People who are working from office, who are working in office, and the production slots, they have been reduced. You know, the GDP will definitely come to negative in few months from now. Although the companies are claiming that they are trying to manufacture or they are focusing on GDP part, they are trying to increase the production slots and production hours. But what is happening is the number of manpower is missing in most of the cases. The manpower is missing, the production staff is missing, and in the absence of that production staff, the overall production capacity will definitely come down. So I belong to a place where I have seen in industrial units. In industrial units, out of 100 staffs, only 30 and 35 staffs are reporting. So it is quite obvious that they are not finding the right manpower to adapt to the newer change. People are not ready to work. People are not ready to migrate. People are, just locked. Okay. So this is what is an unplanned change basically. Now, these changes generally not planned and they are imposed on the organization and they are generally not, they are often unforeseen. We are not expecting that. We were never expecting this. This would happen and we need to live in this situation, like changes in government regulations and changes in the economy. Now, the resolution is how to manage or how to cope up this unplanned change. This unplanned change can be managed by quick responses. We need to be responsive and we need to be proactive. We need to be proactive so that we should give flexibility in working. We should give flexibility of working. In my opening session, I've discussed about a company called Google, which have given flexibility of working from home till 2021. Even the Microsoft is planned till October, and there are various multinational organizations which are giving facility to their employees for work from home. So, and of course, not work from home, but they will provide the requisite infrastructure so that they can work easily from home, giving all in all productivity. Productivity is not compromised, should not be compromised at any cost. If productivity is compromised, what is the use of giving work from home? And of course, one more thing, manager should be planned and it should be prepared to handle both planned and unplanned forms of change in the organizations. A training should be given. So that is why if you see around, you'll find many institutions, many organizations are coming up with this course on organizational change management. They will give you tools. They will give you certain set of tools so that how can you manage, how can you change this overall situation, whether it is planned or whether it is unplanned. They will provide you the tools and how to fight and how to have these issues resolved. So managers requires an on-the-job and off-the-job training so as to manage these forms of changes. Some planned organization changes quickly. We have discussed like changes in products on services. Okay, changes in product. We are building what set of products, what is there in the market, what will be popular. Today, everybody is looking for telecom related products. Everybody is looking for better communicative products. So the companies who are into manufacturing of electronic equipments like laptops and other equipments, they should plan that their laptop should be ready to support this communication well. Their laptop should have the facility to support this communication facility, so as when the customer buys this, he will have no other issues, but they will have no problems in resolving his issue related to communication. So a change is required in the current situation for the electronic products, which is related to communication. And services, of course, I can quote many examples related to services. Services like entertainment industry is one of the example. They are moving from theaters to the online medium. They are moving from theaters to Netflix and other. So this is what is a change in the service sector. Then change in administration system. Change in administration is control and flexibility. Okay, when you are there in the organization, you focus much on control, but when you are not in the organization, you have to give the flexibility. You need to provide the flexibility. Then change in organization size and structure. Okay, number of employees should be divided into teams depending upon their location, size, and everything. And of course, introduction of new technology. These are some of the suggestions related to the planned organizational change. Then about the unplanned organizational change. Unplanned organization change, changing employee behavior and demographics. Okay, demographics like people should prefer, in organization, people should prefer locals if the peoples are not available from outside. Then employee behavior should be, employees should be motivated enough to work in the changing pattern. They need to adjust. Adaptability is required. Adaptability is a very tricky issue. Adaptability is not actually seen. Then fill up the performance gap. If you are not able to meet up the productivity, try to fill up the performance gaps. Focus on government regulation and keep a close eye on the government regulation. What is the government planning and what is being discussed? I think everybody has seen yesterday's the new amendments in the education system. And of course, the industry related to the education system will have to replan. This is a sudden change. Although as the newspaper says, it is a change after 34 years. But after 34 years, when the education institutions and other institutions are going into crisis, this education change, how will they improve? How will they try to improve with the change, with this particular change? That is needed to be understood. So they were not prepared. They were not prepared that this change will happen. I think the overall system is almost overhauled. Overall education system is overhauled, starting from primary education to higher education or to professional education. Every set of system is overhauled. So this is what is to be understood. Then economic competitions in the global arena. So this will have another issues. So that is needed to be cope up. Now, another case study is about the company called Coca-Cola. Previously, Coca-Cola was only, adamant. They were very, very adamant. Coca-Cola is our prestigious brand and we will not go with the, what should I say, diversification. We will not produce different varieties of products and services. We'll only focus on one. And now they are manufacturing all sorts of soft drinks, whether it is cold drink, whether it is maybe related to orange or Minute Maid, and so many other brands they are manufacturing. So that means they need to change. They need to adapt to it, the product line, to better satisfy the demand of the customer. Because if they are thinking that Coca-Cola is the only brand which will sell in the market, not true. Not very true. People will have different opinion. People will have different options. If you are not providing any, Coca-Cola is an established brand, no doubt. But if you are not providing the variety related to the soft drinks, then people will switch over to another brands, and that was what was happening. So the company decided to change its single product policy to a variety of products policy, so that the customer will have a variety available in the market related to Coca-Cola, and they stick to this brand only. They stick to this brand. Then there's another example related to Continental Airlines. This Continental Airlines executives created an urgency to change by listening to customers and communicating their concerns to the employee. Customer driven change motivates employees to engage in continuous change. So what they had is, they had a continuous feedback from the customers who were using their flights. They had continuous feedbacks, and they continuously improved as per the expectation of the customers. So they have changed what the customer, they have totally focused on the customer desires and tried to manage. I'm not saying that please listen to every demands of the customers, but there are some demands which can be adjusted, like space, a plane cabin, crew space, and everything. So there are some things which can be modified and molded as per the demand of the customers. So this company called Continental Airlines used this strategy to have ideas from the customer, so that they can implement the change, and they have implemented the change, of course. And when the customer found that they have applied or implemented the change as what is suggested in the feedback form or the interaction with the crew members, they were really amazed and focused on using this Continental Airlines again and again. So based upon customer expectations and demand, they changed. Then, after discussing so much of change, of course, change management is the buzzword for today. Change management is trending everywhere, and it is very, very evident in this pandemic scenario. So the major part comes is the resistance to change. This is very important. There are conflicts. There are definitely conflicts. I remember when the computerization process was in the banks, I used to go to State Bank of India, and they were very long crowd waiting for their turn to come on. Many of the people in the crowd always complained, बोला यार इससे तो पहले वाला ही ठीक था. Okay, the earlier was better. Manual work was better. Computerization is too long a process. So this is what is resistance to change. And now I think even the State Bank of India or a kind of let us say public sector bank, they are working in the styles of private sector or multinational banks only. They have introduced the CBS concept. They have overcome this resistance to change. They have overcome resistance to change, and this did not happen in just 1 or 2 months or 1 or 2 years. This happened all about 10 to 12 years. It took a long time. It's a long journey. It's a long journey that public sector bank have shifted from the older manual system to this CBS system. So in any organization, if you foresee a change in any system, if you foresee a change, there are resistance which is bound to happen. Resistance will happen. Now, as I said, it is an act of opposing or struggling with the modification or transformation that alter the status quo in the workplace. So definitely the people who are associated in a particular organization, they will resist to change. They will resist to change, and it is very difficult It's a very challenging task for the management to allow them to respond to the change and adapt to the change. Responding and adapting is a tedious task. So if we talk about the earlier sign of resistance are the gossips, okay, grapevines, and the testing, individual actions, collective actions. People will come to the managers or to the management individually, or people will come in groups. They will say, sir, we are not ready for the change which is bound to happen in our organization. So visibility of resistance, covert and overt. Covert means little agitation sort of, and overt is small passive resistance. Activity can be passive resistance and active resistance. Passive means people go for people do not work, decrease productivity, and active resistance means a kind of pen down strike, you can say. Now, why people resist change? Because let us talk to the Isaac Newton's first law of motion. It's a law of inertia. Law of inertia, what is law of inertia? Law of inertia says that a person or an object in one place will be in that place or will be in that position until it is asked to stop. Law of inertia. Like you are traveling in a bus, when the bus comes to a stop, that inertia stops also, and you get a jerk. That is what is inertia. So when bus is moving fine at the speed of 60 or 80 or 90, it is okay. But when it suddenly comes to a stop, that is what is change. So that is why people resist change. People are always in a state of inertia. People are always in a state of inertia. They don't want to change. And here on the screen, as you can see, there are few reasons, not all, but there are few reasons why people resist change. The first reason is they are afraid that the job will be affected. Their job will be affected. That is one of the reason. Okay, when the new company will take over, their job will be affected. Then bad communication strategy. Bad communication strategy, when the management is forcibly asking the employees to go for a change. It is a bad communication strategy, and it should be avoided. It should be avoided. People should have a persuasive or what should I say, open forum participation. People should be invited for suggestions, and only then the company should plan. Company should not stick to his only self objective. Company should stick to the organizational objective. Organization as a whole should grow. In many instances, I have seen that the organization only focuses on the self objective. That the single person is having an objective and I want to grow. But what about the organization? Organization not growing. So in that case, this bad communication strategy happens when the top management wants forcibly the changes to be adopted. And third is the shock and the fear of unknown. Of course, it is a psychological factor. Everybody understand what will happen in future. We, at this point of time, we are not sure what will happen tomorrow. Whether there will be, like in most of the states of Uttar Pradesh, there's a lockdown for Saturday and Sunday. So we are not sure what will happen in future. So this is a situation, VUCA situation. I think everybody is aware. This VUCA situation, and that is why people are afraid to change. Then loss of control. Loss of control is another factor by the management. The organization will see that this control will be gone. Lack of competency. People are not skilled or talented to cope up with the change. Requires training. And as I told you, training is very obvious nowadays. Many of the institutions are providing, or many of the organizations are providing this change management technology forum. This change management technology, how to identify the change, how to identify the gap, how to identify the gaps, and how to apply various tools and techniques so as to avoid this change management, how to manage this or adapt this change management, and of course, how to convince the management. Then lack of competency, then the poor timing. Timing may sometimes affect the entire scenario. You are going for a change, and the next day another thing happens. That is also another thing that is very important. Then lack of reward. People expect that they will be devoid of any rewards. Office politics, another reason. Loss of support system, farmer change experience, empathy and peer pressure, and lack of trust and support. So these are some of the common reasons why people resist change. So how to deal with resistance? Education, educate the community, go for participation, ask people for suggestions, facilitation, give facility, and try to make them understand this is good for organization. Then negotiations. Negotiations are very important. Then even if sometimes the manipulation is done also, and the coercion is by force. So these are basically 6 factors, 6 area types or tools you can use to fight the resistance. Educate people, go for education, go for participation, go for facilitation, negotiation, manipulation, and coercion. Now, this is about a company called Uber. Okay, Uber was a very popular company, and they were very successful in this taxi and cab booking services. So previously they were not using this online app system. So with the when the Ola came into the market, this Uber thought this is the best way, because there are conflicts related to the meter. The meter is wrong, or this price is high, or that price is high. You have taken a wrong way and that way. So in order to cope up with the change, the Uber have decided to follow the Ola strategy. They have launched the app for themselves. Uber was a popular company, even far more better than Ola. So this Uber have introduced this Uber have introduced this online app and sorted out most of the conflicts which were related to resistance to change. So now the customer have a clear cut picture of the source and the destination he have booked a taxi for, and of course the approximate price range. I think price range is clearly written. If this is the price 106 or 506, that price is always written. So this app have given the customer a sense of satisfaction and a reason to avoid resistance. Resistance is now avoided. There is no issue related to meter, bill meeting, and everything. And of course, when there is a traffic jam and issues, that is clearly highlighted on the app clearly. So that is how the Uber cope up the change and adopted a newer version of the app and applied to these services to avail and to provide better customer services and better customer service facilities. Now we'll talk about the approaches of change. Approaches is appoint change agent like an auditor. You have to appoint an auditor so as to analyze your organization well. Determine what should be changed. I told overhauling is a last resort. Overhauling of a system is the last resort. Try to focus on that particular problem which is affecting the productivity or other issues related to the organization. So first resolve that. Try to change that. Do not just directly go blindly for entire overhauling. Entire overhauling will take time, and the results, when what you are expecting for, the results may not be as similar what you are expecting. That can change. Then determine what should be changed, and of course, similar to it, the kind of change. Okay, the kind of change is very important. Then approaches, another is, who are the individuals which will be affected by this change? Who are the individuals which will be affected by this change? And identify them, try to persuade them, try to have negotiations. And as I discussed in my previous slide, use this: education, participation, facilitation, negotiation, manipulation, and coercion. And finally, evaluation of the change. Evaluation is very important. You have applied a change, and it should be measured properly. What are the significant differences in the results? What was the target and what was the results? That is needed to be understood. Okay. We are running short of time. So let us come to this case study called merger of ING Vaishya Bank with Kotak Mahindra Bank. So merger is a kind of change, of course, everybody know, and people are too much of apprehensive of losing their job. Now Kotak decided to expand their business by acquiring ING Vaishya Bank, since ING Vaishya Bank has a stronger presence in South India, while Kotak has an extended franchisee in West and North India. Now there are two companies, there are two organizations. Two organizations will have a different organizational culture. The two organizations will be working under different strategies. One is operating in South and another one is operating in West and North India. So when the decision came, the people were afraid. The people of the ING Vaishya Bank will be afraid, because Kotak Mahindra, established in 2004, is a new style bank. Is a, what should I say? It's a new generation bank. So it adopts all the philosophies and policies of a multinational company. So the people from ING Vaishya Bank, who are an old generation bank or a traditional bank, they were really afraid how they will cope up with this Kotak people and what will happen of their future and whether their job is safe or not. They were too much of apprehensive. So, but they were too much of apprehensive, and when this happened, then the organization, when the two organizations decided, Kotak and ING Vaishya, tried to persuade the employees of the organizations, had a one-to-one discussion focused on salary, cultures, and merger happened without much of the problem. Resistance was there initially, but the resistance was taken care with a proper guideline, with a proper setup. So these two different cultured bank, two different, let us say, marriages of two different people. So it is like that only. So this bank with the joint venture or with the merger of Kotak Bank is now working well and is able to achieve profitability. So this is what is organizational change in case of a merger. I could have explained more, but because of limitation of time, I have to just quickly rush to the topics, core topics. So these are issues related to the resistance faced by ING Vaishya Bank employees. So they even thought that they will go on strike. They were planning for going on a strike, but somehow it was managed and the deal was done. And the important part is the negotiation part and the counseling part, which worked out a lot, and so that the two merger happened without much of hue and cry. So in today's discussion, I think I need to wind up. into today's discussion, we have come learned about the organizational change, forces which are force for change, that is internal or external. I have given case studies related to Uber, case studies related to Kotak Mahindra and ING Vaishya merger, case study related to Coca-Cola, case study related to General Motors, case study related to General Motors, and the types of change planned for unplanned, resistance to change, approaches for change management. So finally, I would like to end up by saying that change is a very constant thing, and change has to be taken care, tackled effectively. Together, change is important for the organization growth, and change is very important for the people working. They have to adapt to the change. They need to understand what are the drivers, what are the resistance related to the change, and if they change means growth, change means productivity, and as our honorable prime minister says, if we plan for change at this very emergency situation, we'll go for self-sustaining, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat. With these words, I would like to put an end to my discussions and open for your queries. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Professor Tomar, with such a beautiful coverage of the topic. You started with why we need a change. Then you give a very elaborate discussion on how to make the change effective and how to overcome the risks of change. Why there are resistance and what a company or an organization should do to overcome the change. So excellent coverage and beautiful insight. We are really enlightened, and certainly it will go a long way in our knowledge creation and our wisdom creation.
Thank you,
Now
sir.
I would like to ask a question from you. See, government has announced a moratorium.
Hmm.
Moratorium means the EMI of the loans, customers need not pay for 3 months to the banks.
Okay.
My question is, how banks will cope up with this? Whether there will be impact on the banks due to this sudden change? If yes, how and what should be the solution?
Sir, definitely there will be an effect because as you know, the NPA is increasing day by day. NPA is increasing day by day, and when the government is allowing moratorium and the government on the other side is not giving support to these banks, definitely it will have a bad effect on the overall earnings of the bank. But anyways, we need to adjust with the situation. The banks need to understand that the customer should not be lost. The customer focus should be in the topmost priority. If the customer background nowadays, this I think ratings are available. Various ratings are available on which banks can decide what is the credibility of a customer. This credibility of the customers can well be checked, and if he is paying his dues regularly, then definitely the bank should give them a chance to repay after the moratorium. And in fact, I suggest that everybody, the banks purely survive on the finances given to the bank, finance to the customers. If these finances are missing in long run, that will also affect. So at this point of time, the bank do not have other choices but to digest that small term losses in order to have future gains. So I hope I have answered some of the issues related to this.
Well said, sir. Well said. Now another question. See, recently we have seen the labor, the feet on the street, the industry labor, they have gone back to their houses. Now we are going into unlock 3, which will be starting from 1st August. So most of the economic activity has started. So my question to you, how the industries which are labor intensive will start their production, and what will be their future? Because last 3-4 months they are logged. They need to start their operation, and they need a lot of labor intensive factories I'm talking about. How you look at it, how these things will start, and how much more time will take, time it will take. So your take on this?
Sir, quite a tricky question, but what I feel is it depends solely on the government, sir. The government have to start up its communication facility. Otherwise, that problems is not going to resolve. See, if the trains are not moving, if the buses are not moving, how you can expect the labor intensive industries to have their labor demand fulfilled? So the government should understand that this is the primary demand of the industry, which are totally labor based. But at this point of time, the businessman should also understand that slowly and steadily they should progress to the capital intensive technologies. The time have come where we can shift over from labor intensive to capital intensive technology. In India, sir, what exactly situation is, production houses were earlier also not doing that good. Only except for few exceptional electronics industries which are having affiliations or collaborations with foreign multinational corporations were running well. But if we talk about purely about production sector, they were not in a good shape, and that is why you can see for the last 2-3 years the GDP was going down. It was not up to the mark. The production was having an effect, so they could not foresee. As I, if you quote to the slide, I have given some. There are some unforeseen changes and there are some planned changes, and this was unforeseen changes. The organization should be well prepared. Organization manager should be well prepared to, so that they should plan accordingly. Otherwise, they are not going to solve this problem. So first part of the answer, the government should allow transportations at affordable cost. I heard in the news that transportation is very expensive. And when I talk about labor, when I talk about these people who are working in industries, they cannot afford this higher cost. So that is why they are not moving. They are not moving out. And secondly, industry should simultaneously focus on developing the capital intensive technologies. Like what has happened in developed countries, they should plan now, because this is high time. Although, as I said, in production, you cannot expect everything to turn around in 6 months or 1 year. So that is all from my side, sir.
Yeah, well said, Professor Tomar. Many of the industries now they have got SOP made, standard operating process, how to maintain social distancing, and for their labor, they are sending their buses to different villages in Bihar and UP and all, and they are bringing them back, arranging their stay, and so on and so forth. So this is what is happening. The thinking of the owners have changed, and they are adapting to the new style of working, taking care of the laborers, taking care of their stay, taking care of their health, and maintaining the standing operating process, SOP. So that has already started. It's a very good sign for the industry, for the society, because this labor class has to be taken care well, so that they can survive and they can contribute to the industry. Sir, Director sir would like to ask anything? Yes, sir.
Yeah, see, another important point that we need to discuss today is, how to face the changes. Because you are discussed on the organizational changes, the various kind of changes that has happened in the manufacturing sector or due to the technology or in the service sector, everything that you discussed in detail. Of course, I think you forgot to mention the outsourcing as well as the e-commerce, because due to the outsourcing, many of the manufacturing sectors, they just closed down their factory, right? and the buyers. Earlier it was a buyer's market, but now, okay, the manufacturers, they will dictate the rule. That's the situation now. Especially into the textile sector. Earlier, India was number one in exporting the textile products, textiles as well as the apparel. But at present, India is nowhere into the exports of the textile products. And the main reason that you know very well, it is due to China. China is very good in manufacturing. And they are very good in manufacturing the textile products or apparels in a huge quantity within short time. And that's the main reason why the big brands, that's from USA as well as the European countries, they thought it is better to place an order in China instead of placing an order here in India. The most important thing is the cost of the product. Because for a brand, okay, if they need to survive in the market, the cost is also an important factor. But now the trend has changed. Now, earlier it was China. Now it is Vietnam. Now it is Vietnam is the place for manufacturing of the apparel. They are importing the fabric from China. And for apparel, it is Vietnam. Even many of the Indian companies, they have set up their plant in Vietnam. And they are importing the finished goods to India. Once it is converted, means they are importing the fabric from China to Vietnam. They are converting into the finished product. And the Indian company, they are importing here in India for the retail purpose, for the domestic market. That is happening. It is an important change that has happened in the market. And another one, it is e-commerce. The retail sector, many of the retail showrooms, earlier it was a big threat. But now I think the public also realized the importance of buying the certain products from the showroom instead of placing an order online. And there are chances, okay, they are placing an order for A and the company will deliver a B product. Because it is not possible for the buyer to test the quality. But if it is in a showroom, okay, it is very much possible. They can decide. A lot of available in the showroom. So they can choose the best product and they can negotiate the price. But in online, practically it is not possible. They have to accept whatever the price that is quoted. Okay, these are the changes that we discussed. But another important point that we need to discuss, how to face the changes as an employee. Due to these changes, maybe due to the e-commerce or the outsourcing or whatever it is. So finally, it will affect the individuals and their family. So how to face the situation? Many of them, they will lose a job. So is that the end? No. So what is the solution?
Sir, I suggest in this case, the people should rather focus on focusing on the same job, but they should focus on learning new skills.
To upgrade
to upgrade
as well as update the skill. Yeah.
Update the skills. So as I discussed in my presentation, that marketing have shifted from normal marketing to digital marketing. Even in the Kotler says that definitions will be rewritten based upon digital marketing, definitions of marketing. So in these times, the employee should focus on skill enhancement and should find a job suitable to his or her choice. Actually, many of the students who have taken up job as an HR, now they're working from home. 90% of them working from home. So they have to adapt to the new change. They cannot say, sir, I'm not having mobile phone, I'm not having a laptop, and I'm not comfortable using this. So they need to adapt. They need to work on that. So in order to just criticize about the system, better to develop ourselves to face the situation, because organizations or the organization owner will focus the strategy. It is an overall strategy, but as an employee, we should always focus on developing our skills and managing and adapting to the new situations. People should always be ready. People should always be ready, and they should practically be open to accepting different types of job opportunities. As you can see in new education policy, the government is also planning not to just develop graduates, but to develop skilled professionals. In skilled professionals, if a person is doing a 1 year course, then he is fit to get a certificate. That certificate is sufficient to give him a job opportunity. You compare various higher education institutions, there are many and millions of engineers which are producing every year, millions and millions of engineers. And even the better job is offered to a normal commerce graduate or a BA graduate from a Delhi university. So that is what is the difference between the skills and competency. So people should focus on developing the competency instead of getting away, flowing away with the system. They should
Yes,
need to adapt. They should need to adapt. Sir, your suggestions in this regard.
Well said, sir. Well said. And I'll add to this, we need to reskill and upskill.
Mm.
And we need to be ready